Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the hybrid in-person and virtual meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Central Frontenac. For those who may be new to the committee, my name is Bill Everett, and I am the chair of the committee. Joining me this evening are committee members. From my left, Dan Meeks, Susan Irwin, Nikki Gowdy. From my right, Duncan McGregor, Lynn Clagis, and Cindy Kelsey. We are also the planning staff from the county, Jenny Capusta. To my right, from the municipality, Abigail McKinnon. And against the wall, our media, Chris Nelson. This evening's meeting will follow the agenda that has been posted online. Staff have prepared a presentation for each application, which will be displayed on the screen during the meeting. For each application requiring a public hearing, we will follow this format. I, as the chair, will introduce the file so everyone knows which item we are discussing. The planner will provide an overview of the application. The applicant or their agent will then have the opportunity to speak. Committee members may ask questions of staff, the applicant, or their agent. Members of the public will then have an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments. I encourage anyone wishing to speak to do so at that time. The committee will then deliberate and vote on the application. Voting will take place by a show of hands for those attending in person or by verbal confirmation for those attending virtually. I will then introduce the result of the vote. All members of the public are welcome to provide comments on new applications. Please note that as of January 1st, 2023, only persons specified in the Planning Act are permitted to appeal consent and minor variance applications. Following the meeting, Township staff will provide a copy of the committee's decision to the applicant and to anyone who has requested to be notified within the time period prescribed by the Planning Act. Should you have any questions after the meeting, please reach out to Township staff. The applicant, the minister, or any prescribed public body with an interest in the matter may appeal the committee's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the date of decision or notice. Appeals must be submitted through the e-file portal, and details regarding the e-file system will be provided in the notice of decision. I will now ask Chris Nelson to provide an overview of how members participating virtually can take part in the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once the meeting is open to the public, the chair will ask if anyone has any questions or comments. Members of the public attending virtually will be asked to use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. This alerts us that you would like to speak. Staff will then notify the chair that someone would like to speak and then proceed to unmute your microphone. You will receive a notification that your microphone has been unmuted. Please wait a second after unmuting your microphone before speaking. If you're calling in by phone, please dial *9 when you would like to raise your hand during the meeting. You will hear a prompt on the phone that you have raised your hand, and you will be notified when your microphone has been unmuted. This afternoon, it looks as though we have 3 members of the public participating with us online and 1 in person.
In the unlikely account that we have connection issues and that the meeting cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting will be postponed and staff will be in touch with each applicant. A notice will also be posted on the township social media, letting you know. Okay. Approval of the agenda of November 25th, 2025. Moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Susan Irwin. That the agenda of November 25, 2025 be adopted as presented. Are there any amendments?
No, there is not.
All those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. Approval of the minutes of November 11th, 2025, moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Lynn Clagis. that the minutes of November 11th, 2025 be adopted as presented. Are there any amendments?
No, there is not.
All those in favor? Carried. Are there any deferred items?
No, there is not.
Are there any applications for consent?
No, there is not.
Okay, applications for minor variance. Application 2025-0024 Van Drunen. Ms. Kapusta, if you would.
Thank you. This is application to recognize. Can you hear me now? Oh, that's much better. Yes. All right, I will begin again. This is an application to recognize some construction that's begun as well as some construction that is ongoing for a cottage that cannot or is less than 30 meters from the high water mark of Echo Lake. So the proposal is to construct an uncovered deck addition with an area of 16.6 square meters. So that's the area highlighted in yellow. And that has a setback of 0.5 meter to the high water mark of Echo Lake. All of the setbacks to the water bodies have been confirmed by Quinte Conservation Authority through multiple site visits reviewing this proposal. The second part of the proposal is to construct a 2-story addition on the footprint of the existing mudroom and open deck area. So that's the area shown on the screen in blue and indicated with the arrow. The applicant had begun the construction without realizing additional planning approvals would be needed, as the footprint for the addition was already existing. As I noted, half of it was a mudroom, half of it was an open deck, and they were under the impression that they're within the same footprint and going up, so that was okay. They found out otherwise, and they've been very cooperative since they have been informed of the situation as it actually is. So the increase in gross floor area for that 2-story addition is 68.9 square meters, or just over 741 square feet. So if you note, that isn't the full 2 stories or the full area of the footprint, because half of it was already an enclosed mudroom. So they took off the mudroom, expanded it out over the deck, and are constructing a 2nd story. There we go. And here are some photos of the deck addition and the proposed, or as I said, in progress 2-story addition. Looks very similar to this because once they were informed, they were very cooperative and stopped work at that point. So you can see on the left is the view of the addition from the non-water side of the structure, and then the existing cottage is the single-story blue structure. The picture on the right is standing on the dock extending into the lake, and you can see the deck addition that they've constructed, as well as the 2-story house addition in the background of it. When it came to the deck addition, again, you can see that the footprint is constructed in a cantilevered way. So again, they were under the impression that cantilevering out wasn't the same as extending out. Again, we've cleared all these things up. And they're fully aware of what the situation is, just to give you an idea from different sides of view. Sorry. Again, just some other views of the addition that's in progress. You can see on the left side, there's existing footprint where there was dwelling and other structures in place, and they are constructing just right on top of what was already there. This next one here just gives you an idea. The cottage existing is very close to the lake. However, the addition of the living space area is not getting any closer to the lake than the existing cottage. It's going to be in line with it.
Sorry, I also just wanted to make a quick note for the committee, just because I noticed something in the photo and I just wanted to bring it up before you had a question about it. There is shown a patio door with a piece of wood across it. That was intended to be a window, and the person who was installing those items at that time mixed them up. So that patio door is actually supposed to lead out onto an area that already has a deck, not to an area that doesn't. Just so that you know, there is not a deck being proposed in that location.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. I had forgotten that that was the case because I knew that they weren't doing that. Yeah, so the window is where the door is and the door is where the window is. So they'll get there. They have some renovations to do and some remediation. So this is the view from the dwelling. In the addition, you can see the deck area extension out towards the water. So again, while they are very close, they are actually well above the. They have a whole half meter to the high water mark. That's at least 2 feet, ish, 1.5. Yes, so that's why there's extensive involvement and multiple site visits with Quinte Conservation, both on their own and with township and county planning staff to review this. Quinte did confirm through their comments. Again, I'll just sort of go through and you can see they replaced the dock and some of the stairs and added this deck extension. There wasn't really an outside space to sit, and as Mitty's noted, the property slopes off fairly steeply down towards the lake. There wasn't really any level seating area on that side of the cottage, which is why they were looking for this deck addition. So as I noted, this was circulated to Quinte Conservation for review. Initially, their comments came back in August of this year, requesting deferral based on details of the two-story addition, and it appeared that there was some slight further encroachment of that addition compared to the existing cottage, and that would not have been permitted or permitted under Quinte Conservation policies. So they requested deferral at that point. So we hadn't brought it to the committee then. And that way the applicant worked with Quinte Conservation and the Township Building Department to confirm exactly where the construction will take place and what those setbacks are. As a result of that work, we got comments from Quinte last week, November 20th of 2025, stating no objections and confirmed that only the deck addition will further encroach towards the high water mark. Based on the slope of the property, it's not high enough to constitute a erosion hazard, but it does take both additions outside of the floodplain of Echo Lake, and therefore Quinte Conservation has no concerns with regards to natural hazards on the property. Septic comments are that there's no records for the dwelling or for the septic system that serves the dwelling. The owner has an approximate location where he thinks it may be. Further investigation will be required. Prior to any building permit issuance, it is more than likely a new system will be installed and well outside the 30 meters given the size of the property. There's no concerns with meeting that setback, so that's going to be done at the building permit stage once further details have been provided on exactly what the addition will include with regards to bedroom square footage, things like that. There were no public comments received regarding this application. And as such, recommending approval of the application as submitted, subject to any comments raised at the meeting this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant or their agent have anything to say?
Please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to speak. Seeing none.
Does anyone on the committee have anything to question? Ms. Smith?
I guess my question is the building going to stop at this point until we find out, one, about septic, and secondly, get things done?
Yes, there was a stop work order issued by the Township Building Department earlier this year, and the construction has looked the way it did in the pictures since that point, with the exception of they had constructed another deck addition, which they have since removed and no longer included as part of the application. So they've actually continued, but by removing some parts that they couldn't get engineering sign off for.
Mr. McGregor?
So to my understanding, there's two parts to this application. There's the building, which to my understanding is sitting on the existing footprint of what was the building before there. So the building is not encroaching any farther towards the lake. Is
Correct.
that correct? And then the second part of the application is for the deck,
Yes.
which is encroaching farther on the lake.
Correct.
Okay. And one of the criteria we normally see in reports is if this minor variance application
Mhm.
is minor, and is it your conclusion that this is a minor variance from our official plan?
So this is being considered under section 45(2), which isn't the same as a minor variance. It's permission to expand a legal non-complying structure. So we don't look at the same four tests of is it minor, is it meeting the official plan. The questions considered based on OLT decisions are whether it'll have a negative impact on the surrounding properties and will have negative impact on any of the natural features. The obligation for that proof is actually on the township to demonstrate. So we worked with Quinte Conservation on that review. And as it is encroaching only as an open and uncovered deck, Quinte Conservation was of the opinion that it is minor and is not going to significantly impact any of the impact the water quality of the lake, any of the erosion or drainage concerns that are on the property. So I look to them as for that impact side of it. From a planning position, I would consider it minor as it is, again, similar like Quinte said, it's an open deck, it's uncovered, it's elevated. It was over an area that didn't have a lot of vegetation existing. Were we reviewing it under the four tests of the minor variance? I still feel that it would meet that minor review, yes.
Okay. And so the follow-up question to that is, at this committee, do we have the ability to break apart the application? So I'm okay with the building if it was on an existing structure. I'm not okay with further encroachment based on that 0.5 meter setback from the water. So do we have the ability to approve the deck, or sorry, approve the building without approving the deck?
My understanding is it's approving the application as submitted and as presented or deferring for a revision to the application. So if you're looking to split that, we would have to defer the application and request that the deck is removed from it or give the property owners the opportunity to say, we hear you, we want to proceed with it as is, and then get a decision on it as a whole, or sort of it's kind of an all or nothing unless they're willing to revise the application to remove that deck area.
I would just like to jump in here. If we have the applicants online and if they are willing to tell us whether or not they would be willing to remove that deck from their application, if we could get that confirmation now, then we kind of know what direction we're heading. Either if they don't want to remove the deck, then it gets denied at the committee and they have the opportunity to appeal, or we can defer it and they can revise.
Ms. Irwin.
Thank you. I am guided by the Quinte Conservation Authority comments. And in addition to their site visits and so forth, the applicants have to apply for a permit, and that's a different process. So there will be ongoing involvement of the Conservation Authority.
Okay, we have the applicant online. Ms. Van Buren, if you're ready. Ms. Van Brunen?
I don't think she is. Hold on a second. Is your mic muted?
That's the mute symbol, is it not?
Yeah, but she has been unmuted as well.
Okay. Ms. Van Drunen, can you hear us? Ms. Van Drunen, can you hear us?
Try speaking now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, we can.
oh, sorry, it was my end. I'm sorry. Okay. Yes, we would be willing, because you're saying you'd like to split this application in two. So if we did have to remove the deck, we would be willing to consider this, yes.
Mr. McGregor, 1 second, please. I have a personal opinion of my own that the deck is larger, but it's cantilevered, but it's still resting on the existing cement pilings. Does
Yes.
that, I mean, the encroachment really to me is that even at the high water mark, it is at ground level, not on the deck itself. Mr.
we-
McGregor,
Oh, sorry. We took the cantilever away. We brought it back. It's no longer cantilever.
is it not resting on the pilings with those angled posts?
No,
Oh, so the pictures are different from what we saw tonight.
the one, I believe the north part of the deck is probably still on a small cantilever. The south deck was on a cantilever and we brought it right back.
Yeah, that's correct. So I will clarify to the committee here. There were two sections of deck. One was a little bit larger, one was shorter at the top of the stairs. That shorter at the top of the stairs section that was cantilevered was removed. But the piece that we're talking about, the deck that is currently there that we're talking about now, is also cantilevered.
Yes.
Correct. So my personal thoughts still stand. Mr. McGregor was next.
So the reason I'm concerned about the deck is because we're looking at this as a minor variance, and I believe 30 meters is the water body setback for new construction, and we're going down to less than 0.5 meters. So that to me is a major variance. So I'd like to move for a deferral until this application can be reviewed between staff and the applicant and brought back to the committee with the deck removed.
Ms. Smith.
I don't have a problem with the application. It's sitting on rock. There isn't much else you can do with that frontage. And we're dealing with it different than a minor variance. That's the wording. But in fact, it's an existing property. So the regulation is different.
That's correct. When we're looking at reviewing under 45.2, we're looking at the amount of added footprint. So when you're looking at this, you would be looking at the amount of added footprint for the deck, which is 178.7 square feet, and that's the added deck area. Again, I worked with Quinte Conservation to get their input on this. So they had said that under their policies, open and uncovered decks, they would be able to issue a permit for that based on at least in their opinion, the limited impact that type of a structure has on the ground, even if there was some vegetation, because the rainfall goes through it. There's no real change in drainage patterns as a result of something or of this style. So Quinte would be willing to issue a permit for the decks and the dock that was reconstructed in the stairs. It was when the structure of the living space that was proposing to get closer, even by, at that point, it was about 18 inches. They were not okay with that, and so the applicants have pulled that back. And that's where I followed on with looking at the review, is if the agency responsible for reviewing natural hazards doesn't have an objection, I tend to defer to those that do these things.
Ms. Irwin.
Thank you. Now, I wish I'd put my computer on and had the application in front of me, but I'll work from memory here. It seems to me that the deck before was 5 meters away from the high water mark.
Yes, so I brought the thing up. Yes, you're looking at was the width of the new deck area is 4.25 meters. So that's the further encroachment for that part. As you can see, there is a portion of the deck on the other end of the cottage where there's the stairs and the access that was a bit closer. So the added encroachment based on the sort of existing line would be, based on their drawings and confirmation, is about 8 feet added encroachment for this deck. So there is an increase in the deck area based on that yellow square. But as you can see, if you're looking at where the front line of the deck overall for the structure was compared to now, it's about an 8-foot encroachment rather than the full 4.5 meters, because there was already portions of it that were within that.
Right. So if you look at where the original deck was and the extension, you're not talking 30 meters. That's a relatively minor extension. So I'm comfortable with the Quinte Conservation Authority approval. They're the ones who have the utmost concern for our environment. And there's the permitting process. They're going to be making sure that there's compliance. So I'm comfortable with it.
Mr. Meeks?
Have they obtained a building permit, and is everything up to code? Because there is restrictions on cantilever decks.
They have not received a building permit because they're not in compliance with the zoning bylaw. So a zoning bylaw is applicable law for the Ontario Building Code. So they would be required to get a minor variance before being able to obtain a building permit. That being said, in many conversations with Andy and the Van Drunens, they are aware that some of the cantilevering did not meet code, and that's why that one section was removed. So they're aware that there's going to be some building code compliance rectification needed.
So both the deck and the septic have to be reviewed before, okay. I personally have no issue with this either. So unless somebody is devoutly going to second Duncan's deferral motion, I suggest we press on. Mr. Meeks?
I would second it because to me, there's a lot of things there that are not up to code.
They have to,
Building permit.
but they have to be brought to code before they can get the permit. Their plans have to meet code, correct?
Yeah, so they won't be able to receive like full occupancy or the final closed permit from Andy until all of those outstanding compliance is met.
If I may, Mr. Chair, when looking at this application, planning staff look at this as if nothing has been done. So it may meet code, it may not. What we're looking at for committee approval is pretend like the deck didn't even exist, and this is what they were proposing. Would this be supportable by the committee? The structural integrity of things is entirely up to the building department. Probably it doesn't meet code. They don't have permits. I don't know. I'm not a building inspector. But as Abby noted, that is why the other portion of the cantilever deck that they had on there was removed. They were unable to find an engineer that would sign off on the structural stability of that. I'm assuming they have been able to find one that can support this, which is why they've continued to include it and not remove this portion as well. However, without committee approval in principle of the plan, nothing more can be done at either Quinte or the building department to rectify any code issues or other such things.
I'm not in favor because there's a lot of things when you go ahead and start a project you can't see. Andy can't see. The building department can't see. So I'm not in favor at all.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. But the point, just to reinforce what Ms. Kapuska just said, we're only seeing those pictures because of misunderstandings. In a normal world, we wouldn't have seen those pictures. It would have come to us without it, with just a sketch. And we would have had to make this decision based on that sketch, not on what we're seeing. So if it's what the planning department's saying, what Quinte is saying is that based on all that information, it passes all the steps it needs to pass for a minor variance, correct?
I also just want to note that the minor variance approval is it's described as a very specific thing. So you are approved for this building in this location at this specific size and this specific setback. if when the Van Drunens apply for their building permit, if something didn't match that approval, they are not allowed to receive a building permit until they are in compliance with what the minor variance has given them approval for. So regardless of how it's constructed currently, if they needed to tear the whole thing down completely and build it in a way that was compliant with the Ontario Building Code, as long as they are within what is approved through the minor variance, they could do that. So it's what the committee approves in terms of size, location, the what and where of the structure, and then the building department will be more concerned with the how that structure is constructed and to what standard.
Do you still stand? So do we have to motion for deferral first?
I think Lynn had.
Sorry, Ms. Claggett.
So just to 100% be clear on this, they cannot proceed to even try and get a building permit unless we let them do this. So they're dead in the water until they get the minor variance to make so that they can make changes, but they can't even do the changes until they have a minor variance allowing that.
That's correct. If, for example, if the committee were to deny this application today, the Van Drunens would have the option to take this to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a reconsideration of the decision. If it were reconsidered, they would be allowed to keep their structure. If the Ontario Land Tribunal sided with the committee in that case, then they would be made to remove it. But they would not be able to apply for any permitting until a decision has been reached one way or another, either by us or the Ontario Land Tribunal.
Mr. McGregor, Mr. Meeks, do you still stand?
Yeah.
We'll need a motion.
Motions to defer.
Whether we defer or not. And then the second motion would be to approve or.
My comments on the deferral.
Mhm.
So the reason I'm pushing for a deferral is because I fully support the extension of the building. It was built on existing footprint that was established during the law of the time. I'm not okay with a new deck, which is what it is, a new deck being constructed 0.5 meters away from the water. And so the reason I'm asking for a deferral is because I think they need to be split, because I want to support their minor variance application or the application for the building, but not support the deck.
So what I've written here is that application number APPN 2025-0024 Van Drunen be deferred to allow the applicants the opportunity to revise the application to remove the deck proposed.
Acceptable? Okay. Moved by Mr. McGregor, seconded by Mr. Meeks, that application 2025-0024 Van Drunen be deferred to allow the applicants the opportunity to revise the application to remove the deck proposed. All those in favor? All those against? Carried.
Defeated.
Defeated, sorry. But you know what I mean.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is there any kind of, like fine or anything like that for going ahead and starting a project without looking into it before you actually went ahead and built?
Yeah, the Van Drunens have paid an increased application fee to cover the additional site visit costs for both Jenny and I, as we've been out to the site and we've been working on this file for 6 months or so.
Great.
So they did have to pay an extra $500 when they submitted their application. But that being said, I am working on a report to come back to council and the committee with some options for enforcement and penalties.
Okay, so moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded I'll need another name for that.
Yep. Susan.
Seconded by Susan Irwin, that minor variance application 2025-0024 Van Drunen for concession 8, part lot 17, geographic township of Hinchinbrook, township of Central Frontenac, of a 41 square meter or 441 square foot addition to an existing cottage and an addition to the lower deck of 3.36 square meters or 36.2 square feet, and that the effect of the application is to permit a variance from section 5.6.2 and 4.26.5A of the zoning bylaw 2011-52 as amended to allow the development. And further, that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. All those in favor? Carried. So there it is. Thank you. Okay, application 20250051 Lock. Ms. Kapusta, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is another application for permission to expand on the existing legal non-complying dwelling. This dwelling is located on Blue Heron Ridge and has frontage on Kennebec Lake. So as you can see here on the screen, there's a site layout. The existing structures are shown in yellow, with the proposed addition shown with a small red square to the, direction challenge, east of the existing structure. The proposal for this addition is for a screen room, covered area addition to the house. And the footprint of that addition will be 21.9 square meters or 236 square feet. In this case, the addition will be constructed to the rear of the front line of the existing cottage and therefore will not further encroach towards the high water mark of Kennebec Lake or the steep slope that leads down to the shoreline. One second. So here's some views of the area, the side of the cottage where the addition is proposed. So the plan is to have the addition constructed in the area where there's the two small windows, so behind the front larger window, and have it accessible by that area, so about 3 meters back from the front of the cottage in the area shown with the red square. There's very little existing vegetation other than a limited lawn cover in that area currently. So there's not going to be anything required to be removed either in proximity to the cottage or along the shoreline to facilitate this addition. Here is another view. You can see the cottage and where the red squares again is where the addition is proposed to be located. So there's a lot of trees along the shoreline. So this addition will be well screened from view of the lake. So there'll be limited impact either visually or encroachment towards the lake. So this application was circulated for review by Quinte Conservation. Their comments from the beginning of October indicated no objections to the application submitted. Development was located outside any identified hazard lands. As I noted, there's a slope down to the shoreline, but this is well outside the required setbacks for that and will not have any impact on the slope. It is located within the regulated area for Quinte Conservation Authority and will require a permit prior to any construction. There's no septic impact as there's no increase in interior living space and no upgrades required to the existing system. There are no comments received from the public regarding this application, and planning staff are recommending approval as submitted, subject to any comments or discussion at the meeting this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant or their agent online?
Please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to speak. Not seeing any.
Okay, we have the two names on the right. So, okay. Do any members of the committee have anything to ask? In that case, moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Susan Irwin. Correction. Moved by Lynn Clagus, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that minor variance application 2025-0051 lock for Plan 1608 BLK TPT Lot 2540 RP 13R6514 Part 3 Kennebec Lake Geographic Township of Kennebec 1290 Balloon Heron Ridge Township of Central Frontenac be approved to allow for the construction of a 21.9 square meter or 235.7 square foot screened porch addition to an existing 71.3 square meter, 767.47 square foot cottage. The addition will not encroach on the water body setback of 30 meters, and that the effect of the application is to permit a variance from section 5.6.2 and 4.26.5A of the zoning bylaw 2011-52 as amended to allow the development, and further that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. All those in favor? Carried. Absolutely, if you wish.
Yeah, we have one online. Oopsies.
Ms.
Okay.
Locke, if you unmute your microphone, you may go.
I just wanted to say thank you.
You are welcome, ma'am.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.
Okay, let's get this back in order now. Is there any other planning business?
Oh.
Could I not call it?
Did he?
I called it.
Oh, sorry.
I don't screw up all the time. Is there any other planning business?
No, there is not.
Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that this meeting be adjourned until December 9th, 2025 at 5 p.m., virtually and in person in the council chambers located at 14216 Road 38, Charlotte Lake, or at the call of the chair. All those in favor? Carried.